Hello, has your business been growing? Has managing your HR functions been something that you are being kept up at night for? Well, today we're going to speak with John Gillis from AccessPoint Human Resources. He's going to tell us about all of the different HR functions and how you can use his company to help make your HR a smoother department. Hello, and welcome to Business Today. In this episode, we're going to speak with John Gillis of AccessPoint. John, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so let's jump right down to it, AccessPoint. Tell us about AccessPoint, how you got started, and why.
Well, AccessPoint is a human resource management company that takes care of the business of employment for its clients. AccessPoint was started in 2000. We're 17 years old. However, Greg Packer, my partner, and I have been together for 30 years working with businesses in the community, taking care of their HR needs.
All right, so HR, we say it, we hear it all the time, we all assume that we know what it means, but HR is a very large category. Can you help break it down? When we say HR and AccessPoint, what is that AccessPoint does in the field of HR?
Well, under that HR umbrella, there's a lot of things that get included in with HR. Benefit administration can be considered an HR function. Workers' compensation administration can be considered an HR function. Obviously, hiring, recruiting, building value with employees is an HR function. Government compliance is an HR function. And sometimes even payroll can be considered as an HR function, especially in smaller companies where you have a business owner or an office manager trying to do all of those things.
All right, so you talked about hiring, benefit management. Hiring, of course, includes recruiting. You didn't mention training, staffing functions. AccessPoint does all of these?
Yes. Our main division is the outsourced human resource management division, okay, where we become essentially the HR department for that client. And we also have a division that does temporary staffing. We have a division that does charter schools, the employment process for charter schools in the state. We have a recruiting division. And we also have a healthcare IT division.
Okay, so let's talk about some of these different divisions that you have. Sure. But before we do that, tell me a little bit about the average client, if there is an average client for AccessPoint. You know, is there a size that you're aiming at?
Yes, typically businesses that have 20 employees and $1 million in payroll reach that point of operational maturity, where they need to start focusing on the business of their employees. The taxes, the government compliance, maybe COBRA if an employee leaves, or administering unemployment if an employee leaves. And then certainly the process of being able to onboard a new employee and creating an environment of explaining to that employee why that particular client location is a good place to work. So as businesses grow, they handle human resources primarily through trial and error. This came up, how do we handle it? And they look to solve that problem. Where as AccessPoint, as their HR department, we have the specialists in those different areas, whether it's payroll or benefits administration or risk management, 401k. In general government compliance, also helping that business owner with handbooks and training policies and procedures. So because as an organization grows, you have more employee administration.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, that's not why you got into business. You got into business to make a profit, selling your product or your services, and national averages show that business owners spend the average of 22 hours a week dealing with employee administration issues.
No, let's look at that for a second. 22 hours a week. We talk about a work week as being a 40-hour work week. So that's more than half of their work time dedicated toward overhead costs, quite frankly, because human resource management is not unless you are a human resource management company, it's not usually what you're doing to actually bring dollars into the company.
Correct.
All right. And so as you were talking, you named a couple of different areas of management that AccessPoint gets into. You talked about having 20 employees and about $1 million in sales. So when
Payroll.
Payroll. Thank you. Sorry about that.
That's
so 20 employees, about $1 million in payroll. That is usually when a company is starting to see that they're having so much time dedicated towards human resource management that they need to make a choice of, me, the sole proprietor, I probably don't have enough time to prospect sales, manage general day-to-day activity, and also do all of my human resource administration paperwork. I either need to think about bringing on a person full-time, or I need to look at outsourcing some or all of these functions.
exactly.
All right.
And the business of employment is really the same. I mean, you can have a muffler shop with 5 employees and a medical practice with 25 employees, but the business of payroll and workers' compensation and 401k and unemployment administration, the whole government compliance that surrounds being an employer with employees is the same. And that's why we can use economies of scale and efficiencies in bringing these services to our clients.
All right. So an example might be, I'm a sole proprietor, started my own business, worked, had 2 employees, 3 employees, 5 employees. Now I'm hitting that threshold, and suddenly I have an employee who's out on COBRA. I've never had to do COBRA before. So there's a learning curve there to figure out exactly what is the paperwork that I'm supposed to file, and what am I responsible for paying for. As opposed to me going through that learning curve, I call AccessPoint, and you've been through the learning curve.
Yes.
Because it's the same no matter what type of business I'm in.
Exactly.
And just for those of us who are watching and don't know quite what COBRA is, since that's the example that we use, can you let people know what that is quickly?
Well, COBRA is the continuation of health insurance for 18 months if you have 20 or more employees.
Okay.
So it's a government compliance issue if you offer health insurance.
Correct, if you offer health insurance.
So it's the continuation of benefits.
Okay. And so as we were talking about the idea of there being many different pieces of human resource administration, AccessPoint being involved in all of them, if I'm a new client coming in and I know that I am reaching a point where I, as the sole proprietor, can't handle everything, I need to take something off of my plate, walk me through how we decide what's going to be best for my business when I come into AccessPoint.
Well, we consult. We have a meeting and we find out what are you currently doing under that HR umbrella and what needs to be done underneath that HR umbrella. And a lot of times our clients are coming to us just to improve the employment process that they have within their organization from an HR standpoint. So the tools that we have that we can give you as the business owner, proper job applications, a great way to explain when health insurance is available, when the 401k is available, make sure that that company handbook is updated. So by dotting those I's and crossing those T's, will make that client or that business owner look much more professional, not only with their current employees, but as they onboard new employees. And in today's environment, everybody is looking for employees because everyone's business is doing so well.
Well, that's the number one thing that I hear from employers is that it really is so important to make sure that they get the right employees at the right time. You talked about onboarding, you talked about the updating manuals. So what I'm really starting to hear from you is that this is not, AccessPoint is not a take it or leave it situation. And what I mean by that is, it's not as if I have to say, okay, I'm at the breaking point and I can't handle my human resources anymore. AccessPoint, take me away. It's more of a situation of saying, hey, you know, maybe I think I'm doing well, but there are areas where I can improve, and AccessPoint can help me improve just in that area. Or AccessPoint can say, hey, you know, we'll take over that area, or AccessPoint can come in and do my entire HR department. It is
the entire employee
continuum.
life cycle, from recruiting to staffing to helping them cash out their 401k when they retire.
All right. And so is there a, again, we talked about the average client, you know, beginning around 20 employees. Is there an average suite or an average set of services that a client is going to be buying from AccessPoint?
Our suite of HR services are all-inclusive.
Okay.
So, but we do have, as I said, the different divisions. If you're just looking for recruiting, we can recruit. If you're just looking for healthcare IT, we have those individuals. Right. If you're just looking, but however, we don't do any, you know, we just don't run payroll.
Right.
Right. So it's a suite of services that are all inclusive for the business owner. Okay. You know, our clients hire us really for two main reasons, and that is to build value with their employees and help them get the most out of the benefits and the ancillary benefits that they have in place, because someone has to take the time to build value with those employees, and really that's where AccessPoint shines for our clients.
So, and John, we're gonna take a short break here, and when we come back, I want to talk more about that idea, about how AccessPoint can help companies not just with all of the paperwork of what HR is, but really get down to the idea of human resources and how we can really get the best and most out of our employees. Thank you for joining us today. Today we're speaking with John Gillis from AccessPoint. John, when we left, you were just talking about building value with employees. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. I think that's one of the things that we do best for our clients is to educate the employees of the benefits that are in place of being our client's employee. The 401k and how to get the most out of the 401k for retirement, whether the company offers a match or not. How to get the most out of the health insurance, how to use the drug card effectively, how to use the dental and the vision, how to use a 125 plan to pay for things tax-free out of their paychecks, how to use direct deposit of pay or other EAP programs that are in place for these clients that probably wouldn't have or wouldn't be able to afford on their own. So that helps reduce turnover, Kalfani, and instead of having to hire a new person and train them, we find that the employees, if they understand their benefits and they understand that they have more, that the grass isn't always greener on the other side.
Right, right. And so, you know, let's take a step back here, because we really jumped right into it and we talked about all of the services that AccessPoint offers, but we didn't talk a lot about AccessPoint itself. So we know that you're 17 years old.
Yep.
You're right here in Farmington Hills. But now I understand from our conversations before the show that for the most of Access, you've had a couple of different buildings, but most of those buildings have been right here in Farmington Hills?
Correct. We started in the Bond office building on 13 Mile and Orchard Lake in 2000. We had a brief stint in Novi, and we moved back to Farmington Hills. The business grew to a point where it was time to buy our own building, and so we decided on Orchard Lake Road, just south of 13.
All right, so give us that address quickly.
28800 Orchard Lake Road.
All right, and then if someone's watching and they think, hey, you know, I want to know a little bit more about how I can, you know, optimize my HR offerings, how would they contact you?
AccessPointHR.com.
All right, so accesspointhr.com, and then the address one more time.
28800 Orchard Lake Road.
Orchard Lake Road. Okay, so we got that out the way. Now, you started off in one building, you had a growth, you had to move, you had a growth, you needed to move, you bought your building where you are now. At some point in all of this, it was just you and one other person, and now it's you and...
We have 150, 160 internal employees spread out in 11 offices across the state.
Okay, and I would imagine that today, because you are the size that you are, even though you are a human resources company and what you do all day, every day is human resources, that you have a human resources department that handles all of your government reporting responsibilities.
We do.
And so we talked about the idea, around 20 people, $1 million worth of payroll is when you start thinking, maybe I need to look at the idea of it's not just roll up my sleeves and I'm going to work 60 hours a week, and between that I'm going to be able to do all of the job prospecting, all of the management resources, but I actually need to bring on additional help. For you, how were you able to make that decision, and what went through your mind as you started thinking, at some point, John and partner cannot run the company and do all of the HR function?
Correct. We promoted from within.
Okay.
So we had a llong-time HR person that eventually became our internal HR person. So the services that they were for 20 years were providing to clients, they were able to provide to us.
Okay.
And how we treat our employees is how we try to, our internal employees is how we try to treat our client employees.
Okay. So that's very interesting.
And it's all about building value in the employment relationship.
Absolutely.
And explaining the value of being a client employee. And for the business owner, the value is also protecting that asset and helping them fight unemployment claims, or helping them, adjudicate a health insurance bill, a workers' comp injury. As I said before, a lot of clients, it's trial by error. Oh, we have a workers' comp injury, what do we do?
Yes.
So the client is able to call us and lean on their outsourced HR department for that kind of help, because we have degreed individuals in all of those different disciplines from an HR standpoint.
Which is so key to have someone who is actually an expert in the different areas.
And
because
that works
as
in
we said before, there's so many different areas of human resources. And even when you talk about benefits, right? So it can be medical benefits. It could be the employee assistance plan. It could be dealing with your 401k. Those are all different areas that require different knowledge.
Correct.
And it can be quite expensive, I'm imagining, if I were to staff up my own resource department that had all of those expertise.
Correct. We have different departments that handle those different disciplines for our clients. So that's what they do every day, all day, is answer those benefit questions for those clients and do adds and deletes from the bill.
All right, so John, we talked a little bit about the different fields of HR, and a question that I have is, are there industry-specific things? Of course, us being in Southeast Michigan, we're going to have a lot of automotive companies. So are there things that are just really automotive?
Our clients are in a wide range. We have automotive clients, we have dentist offices, doctor's offices, light manufacturing, services. Really, in today's workplace environment right now, it's recruiting and finding talented help. We're backlogged with clients asking us to find talent for their businesses. But the HR side of our business in southeastern Michigan has been the same over the last 20 years from servicing clients from an HR standpoint.
So the business of HR is a business of HR regardless of
size, regardless of industry, and regardless of location. As I mentioned, we have 11 offices around the state of Michigan, so we're not any more than an hour away from any particular client.
You know, that's really good to know. So, I mean, one of the things that you may fear as a client is, well, if I do this outsourcing, then I'm really not going to get the responsiveness that I may need. But it's nice to know that you are within an hour's drive across the state of Michigan.
Our HR people are on the road visiting clients, taking care of issues for that business owner, maybe doing job descriptions, refining the handbook, helping with background checks, onboarding employees, explaining when they're eligible for benefits. So we provide a hands-on approach. It's like having an HR person on call.
Yeah, so that's great. We're coming close to the end here, but there's one question that I really want to make sure that we get to, and it is, take us through a scenario, right? So I'm a company, I come in and I say, you know, I need help. Of course, your question is going to be, well, what help do you need? But I don't know, right? So I just know that I need help. What's the triage effect? How do you handle this?
We have a HR checklist. I believe it's available on our website. And it's about 160 different things that revolve around HR. And we consult to the fact of what is currently being done, how are you currently doing it, how long does it take to do that, and then we customize a proposal for a client that lets them know what the cost would be versus hiring someone internally or outsourcing that HR function.
So that is a great takeaway. And the takeaway that I'm hearing here is there is no reason not to call AccessPoint to say, hey, you know what, this is what I'm currently doing. Am I optimized? If I'm not optimized, how can I optimize? And inside of that, how can I optimize, right? So I can optimize internally by hiring someone, or I can optimize by outsourcing one or more of my different HR functions.
Absolutely. Whether you have 5 employees, 50, or 150 employees, we would welcome those phone calls, especially companies that are locating to southeastern Michigan that are not from the area, or if their companies are from out of the country, relocating here for the automotive sector. We help a lot of those foreign companies with the government compliance issues surrounding having employees in the United States as well.
That is a key point. So if there were one thing, I'm gonna give you the last word here, if there were one thing that you could say, you know, what would it be? You know,
building value with employees is critical. I think protecting the asset that you have within your business is critical. And HR is the glue that really, your employees are your greatest asset, obviously, and HR is the glue that holds the employees in place. And by building value with those employees, we have industry statistics that say businesses that use companies like AccessPoint tend to grow faster, have less turnover, and make more money.
So, John, thanks for joining us. Before we go, just tell us how to contact you again.
AccessPoint Human Resources, accesspointhr.com, and our phone number is on our website, and we're located right here in Farmington Hills.
All right. So, John, thanks for joining us again.
Thank you, Kalfani. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. And thank you for watching.